But America can do it because America is killing people for freedom. It's funny, it's hilarious, but the Russians say that our strongest general or our biggest general is General Winter. So what is General Winter? It is the Russian winter. You cannot defeat Russia in Russia. Sure, if Russia is fighting a war against America, let us say for a piece of territory in Africa, maybe you can defeat Russia in Africa. Jai Hind friends, I'm Major Gaurav Arya and you're watching the Chanakya Dialogues English. Like this video, subscribe to our channel, don't forget to press the bell icon. Avdiivka is a city in Ukraine that has now fallen. If you look at Donetsk, it's just north of Donetsk. It's just up there. And the Russian forces have taken it after the month of May last year, that is 2023. This has been the most significant and the biggest Russian victory. Now, why has this happened? I'm going to explain to you. Ladies and gentlemen, for a very long time, the entire Russian concept of war was, not everything, but a large part of it certainly, was based on massed artillery. Massed artillery. When we say massed artillery, we mean hundreds and thousands and of guns, big guns booming, and carpet bombing literally the entire area, just smothering the entire area. That is what the Russians have been doing in this approximately 1,000 kilometer long line that they are pressing against. Now, as of today, Russia controls more than 17.5% of Ukrainian territory. Now, what's happened in the past? When Ukraine said that, we want to get into NATO, Russia had been, opposing this entire move for a very long time. Because there were certain guarantees given to Russia, there were certain promises given to Russia. When the USSR broke up, there were certain things that were told to Russia. And one of them was that NATO now, because the primary threat of USSR is gone, NATO now need not expand. You see, it's not just the Americans who have Cold War memories, it's even the Russians who have Cold War memories. And they have been at loggerheads for almost 5 or 6 decades. It's not easy to let go. It's not easy to, wipe the slate clean and say that, okay, we'll go from zero base again. That's not going to happen. So today, there is a deep distrust. Also because of Ukraine, but earlier also between the two countries, America and Russia. Now, what has happened here is that when in February, 2 years back, when Russia invaded Ukraine, it did so because Russia feared. And here, I'm not attempting to whitewash what Russia has done. I'm not saying that what Russia did was incorrect. I am just saying that the United States of America, that is opposing the Russian invasion, so to say, has invaded over a dozen countries on a far lesser pretext. Okay? Till today, nobody in America knows why they invaded Iraq, or why they should have invaded Afghanistan or Libya. The three countries had nothing to do with 9/11, but they got invaded. And thousands of people were killed, millions of people were displaced. That is just America for you. But if Russia does it, then Russia is the bad guy. But America can do it because America is killing people for freedom. And it's destroying entire economies and entire people and committing manslaughter on an industrial scale. But, well, they're doing it for freedom. So whatever America does is absolutely fine. Here is the problem. Russia felt that if Ukraine joined NATO, right, you would have NATO missiles and NATO tanks bang on the Russian border. And where is Ukraine exactly? Ukraine is on Russia's western border. And it used to be part of Russia once upon a time, or the USSR for that matter. It was part of the USSR and it is on Russia's westernmost extreme, right? And from therein starts Eastern Europe. So Ukraine is classically part of Eastern Europe now. This spooked the Europeans because they thought that now Russia is going to attack us. Russia has no intention of attacking any other European country. If it did, this war would have spread to other places also. Russia just, I think, wants to teach Ukraine a lesson and saying that, you got to stop. You can't join NATO. Now, Ukraine turns back and says, it's our wish. We are a sovereign country. We can join whoever we feel like. While that may be correct, but long time back, in the early 90s, when USSR had disintegrated into 15 countries, right? The famous Russian Federation or the USSR had disintegrated and formed 15 odd countries. That promise was given to Russia that NATO will not expand. And today Russia is asking a very pertinent question. Why in God's name is NATO expanding? Now here is the problem. So I spoke about masked artillery, ladies and gentlemen. So you have these medium guns and these light guns, and they bomb the living daylights out of the opposition. And this is basically what artillery does. Yes, artillery gives cover to advancing infantry and advancing tanks. Sure, it does that. Artillery is, in the Indian Army, we call it the god of war. Because whenever the artillery starts speaking, so to say, the earth shakes. It seems that God is angry and everything is, going bad. There is so much of noise, so much of destruction, so much of death. It's just pounding from the sky. And that is the typical Russian way to fight a war. This is what the Russians have been doing. But in contrast, the Ukrainians say that they cannot fight against the Russians because they don't have artillery shells. Along a 1,000-kilometer axis, the Ukrainians say that we need at least 100 to 150 shells. And I'm assuming this is medium artillery. I'm assuming, I could be wrong, but this is my assumption, that they need 150 shells at least to push back the Russians, every single day. Now they have 1/10 of that, which means they have what? They have 10 to 15 shells, which is nothing, which is peanuts. You fire one salvo and it's gone. So how do you stop the Russians? You don't stop the Russians, which is why the city fell. Another thing that the Russians did was that rather than sending in their tanks, they knew that the Ukrainians were short of ammunition, especially this kind of ammunition, especially artillery shells, which are so important in this kind of war, So what they did was started sending small groups of infantry, fast, mobile groups of infantry who would move left to right and try to maneuver and go sideways. This distracted the Ukrainians. They started firing whatever they had. They didn't manage to kill many Russians. Of course, they did some, but not many Russians. And in the end, they started expending whatever little artillery shells that they had. And when they had done that, when they had expended their ammunition, when they had fully utilized their ammunition and were left with nothing, this is the time when Russia opened up with its big guns and smothered that entire city. Now that city is gone, it's in Russian hands, and there is no civilian population left in that city. It's gone. It's absolutely gone. No, so here, this entire delay about the West giving weapons to Ukraine, I've mentioned this a lot of times. I think what Zelensky did was he committed a strategic blunder here. Never fight with a bigger adversary unless you have your own ecosystem of manufacturing. Today, Ukraine does not have factories which can manufacture these kind of shells. So, Pakistan will give it to America and America will give it to Ukraine or something, or stuff like that. So they don't have money to import, but they need to import. They will only have money when America gives them the money. America says, we will give you $60 billion, but at the same time, the Republicans are stopping it. So, America never discusses internal politics when it is asking an ally and a friend to go to war. They'll say, don't worry, we stand behind you, we stand solidly behind you, smash everybody, go and fight with Putin, give him a couple of slaps, just fight against the Russians, beat them up and we are behind you. And Zelensky, the lightweight that he is, he starts fighting against the Russians. And then he turns around. And when he turns around, he sees there are no Americans there. And then he sees that Putin is still standing tall. See, what is happening here is that a man has been led. It's like, unfortunately, I'm sorry I'm using this analogy, but it's like leading lambs to slaughter. You cannot defeat Russia. So here is a thumb rule. You cannot defeat Russia in Russia. Any person, American or otherwise, who thinks that the Ukrainian military, even with outside help, can enter Russia and defeat Russia, it has never been done. It cannot be done. It's geographically and physically impossible. Your supply lines will stretch, and Moscow is not the issue. Moscow is the capital. Russia is so deep, so deep, so deep. All the Russians need to do is, in case of a ground invasion from the Ukrainian side, or if, let us say, some other people join them, all they have to do is move back. That is all. The Russians don't need to fight with anybody. Ladies and gentlemen, the Russians need not fight. This is exactly what they did against Napoleon. This is exactly what they did with the armies of Adolf Hitler. They didn't fight. They just kept on moving back. And the Russians have this saying, very famous saying. It's funny, it's hilarious, but the Russians say that our strongest general or our biggest general is General Winter. So what is General Winter? It is the Russian winter. So you take time to move ahead in anyone's territory because you need to have these logistical bases. Your troops need to be fed, they need to be clothed, they need ammunition. People who are unwell, people who are shot, people who are dead, they need to be moved behind. So there is this logistical nightmare that happens in every war. And the biggest enemy of logistics is land. This is simple teaching, this simple understanding. The biggest enemies, the more the land, the tougher the logistics. So you stretch your supply lines thin. You stretch your lines of communication thin. You just keep on stretching them. And then there are going to be harassing attacks from the side to disrupt your lines of communication and supply. What do you think that the Russians are doing? What did they do against the Nazis? What did they do against Napoleon's armies? They did exactly this. And this is the reason why Russia can't be defeated. It's simply too big to be defeated. And here, people actually managed to convince Zelensky that, hey, you are the guy who's going to, defeat Russia. And this poor man Zelensky absolutely believed this nonsense. I'm going to repeat it here. You cannot defeat Russia in Russia. Sure, if Russia is fighting a war against America, let us say for a piece of territory in Africa, maybe you can defeat Russia in Africa. Maybe you can defeat Russia in Europe or in Asia or wherever they want to fight. But defeat Russia in Russia? I don't think it's possible at all. So Zelensky today does not have weapons. His troops are running away. They're moving back. They fought very bravely, but now they're without ammunition because suddenly the Americans say that, hey, our political system is such that the Republicans also have to agree because one of the houses are controlled by the Republicans and both the houses have to agree. So, sorry. Now, this politics was not explained to Zelensky, or at least Zelensky should have made an effort to find out. So, ladies and gentlemen, I was trying to explain lines of communication and supply to you. So, here is Ukraine without going anywhere. Please understand. Lines of communication and supply can be disrupted if you're moving from your base. These guys have not moved from their base. Their lines of communication and supply have been disrupted inside Ukraine only. That is what Russia has done. And now taking further this entire Russia thing, Antony Blinken and Dr. S. Jaishankar were sitting and chatting, and this was Munich Security Dialogues. Now, Munich Security Dialogues is perhaps the most famous and the most popular security dialogues which happen anywhere in the world. And the foreign ministers come in, the spy chiefs come in, the heads of armies, they come in, and ministers and heads of state, everybody in it. It happens in Germany every year. And this year's Munich Security Dialogues, there sits Dr. Jaishankar with Antony Blinken of the United States of America. And a lot of people are saying a lot of things, and the talk veers around to why India is still buying Russian oil. The same thing. Why is India buying Russian oil? India should not buy Russian oil. It's not proper for India to buy Russian oil. And America says roughly the same thing. And with a smile, Dr. Jaishankar turns back looking at Antony Blinken and he says, friends give choices to their friends. And if I don't get a choice, then where do I go? So if what he meant was, what he was insinuating was that if America is a friend, they should give us choices. You can buy oil from here, you can buy oil from here and here. You can't say that I'm your friend, but you're going to buy oil only from here. Then you're not a friend. And another thing that Dr. Jaishankar said, which had Antony Blinken smiling and everybody laughing, is that, if I exercise my choices and if I manage to balance, you should praise me for being smart. That is what Dr. Jaishankar said. And Blinken started smiling. So that was that, ladies and gentlemen. With this, I come to the end of my video today. And now we have question and answers. So the first question here is Prithviraj Banerjee. Sir, can we have a view on electoral bonds? You talk about duty of citizens. Do as citizens, can we get to know how the political parties are running the business? Also, what is our PM's view on the release of the rapists of Bilkis and killers of a family member, 3-year-old? He doesn't answer this question. Maybe he'll if you ask. Prithviraj Banerjee, thank you for your question. But, electoral bonds and politics, I don't comment about that. I've never had. Unless a politician starts commenting about national security. That is the only time. I don't think you've ever, heard me talking about political issues, that who's won the elections and this political move and that political move, because I don't have enough knowledge. Shakti Keswan, is the farmers' protest being funded by another country? Could another country take advantage of this? Definitely. It has to be. I'm 100% and entirely convinced that another country is involved in this. and this is a larger geopolitical issue because only the farmers of Punjab are protesting, number one. I'll give you my reasons. Only the farmers of Punjab are protesting, and only the farmers of Punjab protested last time. They got the farmers of Haryana together, and they got some farmers from Western UP, and that later broke up, but only the farmers of Punjab. I would assume that since agriculture is a state subject, the farmers of other states would also be protesting. I mean, West Bengal grows the maximum amount of rice. West Bengal grows the maximum amount of rice in India. I don't see Bengali farmers protesting. Madhya Pradesh grows the most amount of wheat. I don't see farmers of Madhya Pradesh protesting or the farmers of UP protesting. Why only Punjab? Why only Punjab? Is George Soros involved? Maybe. He has threatened to take down the government. Not that he can, but he can certainly cause a headache or a migraine for the government or India or other people. Because I don't understand how a farmer can say that, I have bought diesel and I have bought food for 6 months. What kind of a farmer is this who is ready to leave his field, he's ready to leave his farm, and he's ready to come to Delhi? A farmer cannot sustain himself for that long. A farmer needs to be attentive, especially in places like Punjab where one crop goes, you put pesticide, you put chemicals, the other crop is sown and then harvested, and it's a continuous cycle. Both the Rabi and the Kharif crops. It's a continuous cycle. Everywhere. Why only Punjab? It's a continuous cycle. So when for months on end, almost a year, I'm talking about last time, when the farmers said that we have left our farms and we're here, I don't understand how you can call these people farmers. A real farmer will never leave his fields because he cannot afford to. So yes, I strongly suspect there is a foreign hand. And we should investigate this, of course. So thank you for watching this, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll be back soon with another fresh video. And like this video, subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to press the bell icon. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram, Bharat Mata Ki Jai.